didn't know John Harbaugh potentially told the Browns that he was maybe going to interview with them allegedly and never did. Never called back, completely quit answering the phone. He wasn't willing to work with the Browns under whatever circumstances they laid out for him. Now, he ultimately accepted the job with the Cleveland Browns. Now, it's no secret that he's setting up his coaching staff now as they finish up the finishing touches on his New York Giants contract.
From a business standpoint, you got a person who's one of the most popular people in the world at this point. And this conversation about what people are talking about, just trade them. The Browns aren't sure. The Browns aren't sure about this. Let me tell you what Jimmy Haslam is sure about. Jimmy Haslam, you don't get to be a billionaire by being a dummy. You don't get to be a billionaire without understanding some aspects of business. Shedeur Sanders, let me just say this. It does not matter what any of these quarterbacks do, ever. So as a businessman, you just sat there and watched this dude in 3 weeks drop dime after dime after dime after dime with no surrounding roster, with no reps. And you also watch the numbers in the market and the marketplace and how many jerseys it done sold. And you watch the number of fans that are interested. And you watch how many people want to see the football games and how he has a global fan base. Why would any business...
Jimmy Haslam just fired shots at John Harbaugh that you absolutely cannot miss. And it's all connected to how Harbaugh disrespected Shedeur Sanders in the entire Cleveland Browns organization. Harbaugh ghosted the Browns, refused to even take their calls, and then had the audacity to run to the New York Giants like Cleveland wasn't good enough for him. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear. Haslam is now scheduling a second interview with Todd Monken, the exact offensive coordinator that Harbaugh desperately needs for his Giants staff. This isn't just business, this is personal. This is revenge, and Shedeur Sanders is sitting right in the middle of this power play, watching two billionaires and an elite coach play chess with his NFL future. The drama that's unfolding in Cleveland right now could determine whether Shedeur gets the offensive coordinator who could unlock his potential, or whether Harbaugh's disrespect costs everyone involved. Buckle up, because this story has layers that nobody's talking about.
This right here is possibly personal a little bit. We know that Jimmy Haslam got the bag, had the bag, pretty much got all the dollars. John Harbaugh would have wanted to come to Cleveland. Now, for whatever reason, he made it his business pretty much not to talk to the Browns, you know. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. So you guys can see here, there is new information coming out.
Look, I need you to understand what just happened here, because the mainstream media is completely missing the real story. They're reporting this is just another coaching carousel drama. But what's actually going down in Cleveland right now is one of the pettiest, most calculated power moves we've seen in NFL front office warfare in years. And Shedeur Sanders' entire future is caught in the crossfire. Let me set the scene for you. John Harbaugh, one of the most respected coaches in the NFL, was supposedly interested in the Cleveland Browns job. The Browns reached out. They wanted to interview him. They laid out their vision. They showed him the money. And trust me, Jimmy Haslam has all the money. The man's got a bag so deep that he could have made Harbaugh one of the highest paid coaches in football history. But here's what happened instead. Harbaugh allegedly told the Browns he'd interview with them. Then, radio silence. He never called back. He completely quit answering the phone. He ghosted them like they were some random team calling about a practice squad player. The Cleveland Browns, an NFL franchise with resources, talent, and a desperate need for stability, got left on red by John Harbaugh. And then, just to add insult to injury, Harbaugh turned around and accepted the New York Giants job. Not only did he reject Cleveland, but he did it in the most disrespectful way possible. No explanation, no courtesy call, no professional courtesy whatsoever. He just disappeared and showed up in New York like the Browns never existed. Now, if you're Jimmy Haslam, a billionaire owner who's used to getting what he wants, how do you respond to that level of disrespect? Do you just move on and wish him well? Do you take the high road and focus on your own coaching search? Hell no. You fire back, and you fire back hard. Jimmy Haslam just scheduled a second interview with Todd Monken, and if that name doesn't immediately make you realize how savage this move is, let me break it down for you. Todd Monken is the Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator. He's been running one of the most explosive offenses in football for the last 3 years. He's the guy who helped Lamar Jackson win MVP. He's the architect behind an offensive scheme that opposing defenses have nightmares about. And, most importantly, he's the exact guy that John Harbaugh is reportedly planning to bring with him to the New York Giants as his offensive coordinator. You see where this is going now. Jimmy Haslam is literally trying to steal John Harbaugh's top coaching target right out from under him. This isn't just about finding the best coach for Cleveland. This is about making sure John Harbaugh feels the consequences of disrespecting the Browns organization. And you know what the craziest part is? It might actually work. According to NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, Todd Monken is scheduled for an in-person interview with the Browns on Tuesday. This isn't just a courtesy interview. This isn't the Browns kicking the tires on a candidate. This is a full-blown recruitment effort. They're bringing him in, they're rolling out the red carpet, and they're making it very clear that Cleveland could be a better opportunity than following Harbaugh to New York.
To run John Harbaugh offense, he laid out his 6 pillars for what makes a good offense in a conversation the Ravens put on their website. He said, don't turn it over, be explosive, score touchdowns in the red zone, be good on third down, don't lose yardage plays, and have an athletic quarterback who can make off-schedule plays. Went on to say, I don't care if with the fullback, without a fullback, 4 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers, the reality is there. A lot of ways to skin a cat.
Think about it from Monken's perspective. He's 59 years old. He's been an offensive coordinator for years. He had a brief stint as a head coach at Southern Miss from 2013 to 2015, but he's never been an NFL head coach. This might be his last legitimate shot at running his own team at the highest level. On one hand, he could go to the Giants as Harbaugh's offensive coordinator. It's a safe choice. He knows Harbaugh, they've worked together, there's comfort and familiarity there. But he'd still be the number 2 guy. He'd still be working under someone else. And let's be real, offensive coordinators under strong-minded head coaches don't always get the credit they deserve. On the other hand, he could take the Browns head coaching job and be the guy, the decision maker, the one calling all the shots. He'd have full control over building an offense around Shedeur Sanders, assembling his own staff, and implementing his vision without anyone looking over his shoulder. And this is where it gets really interesting for Shedeur. Let's talk about Todd Monken's coaching philosophy, because this is crucial for understanding why this situation matters so much for Shedeur Sanders. When Monken was hired to run Harbaugh's offense in Baltimore, he laid out 6 pillars for what makes a good offense. And I'm going to read these to you word for word because they're important. 1. Don't turn it over. 2. Be explosive. 3. Score touchdowns in the red zone. 4. Be good on third down. 5. Don't lose yardage plays. 6. Have an athletic quarterback who can make off-schedule plays. Now read that last one again. Have an athletic quarterback who can make off-schedule plays. Who does that sound like to you? Because to me, that sounds exactly like Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who thrives when things break down, a quarterback who can extend plays with his legs when the pocket collapses, a quarterback who has the arm talents and improvisational skills to turn broken plays into explosive gains. Monken went on to say something else that's incredibly revealing. I don't care if it's with a fullback, without a fullback, 4 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers. The reality is there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but the principles of how you win are the same. That's a coordinator who's flexible. That's a coach who designs his offense around his personnel instead of forcing square pegs into round holes. That's exactly what Shedeur needed this past season and never got from Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees. So imagine this scenario. Todd Monken becomes the Browns head coach. He brings in his offensive philosophy that's built around explosive plays and athletic quarterbacks. He sees Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback with unlimited potential who just survived a historically difficult rookie season, and he builds an entire offense designed to maximize Shad's strengths. That's the dream scenario. That's the version of events where Shedeur's career trajectory completely changes, where instead of fighting for reps and battling against a coordinator who doesn't believe in him, he's working with a proven offensive mind who understands exactly how to utilize his skill set. But here's the twist. If Jimmy Haslam successfully poaches Todd Monken from Harbaugh's Giants plans, he's not necessarily doing it for Shedeur's benefit. He's doing it to stick it to John Harbaugh. Shedeur just happens to be the potential beneficiary of a petty billionaire owner's revenge plot. And honestly, I'm here for it, because at the end of the day, I don't care why things work out in Shedeur's favor. I just care that they do.
Something that, especially if you are a defensive-minded head coach, you're going to look at this job and say, yes, they do have the best defense in the AFC North and the best talent in the AFC North. So I do believe that from that standpoint, you can look at it and say it's number one in that category. And then you get to the quarterback, which is, of course, vitally important. Right now, they don't know who their starting quarterback is, but they've got Shedeur and Deshaun and the number 6 overall pick, so you have to weigh that. There are a lot of things, I think, that are very, very attractive about this job. And, this is a football team.
Now, let's talk about what happens if this doesn't work out. If Todd Monken decides to go to New York with Harbaugh instead of taking the Browns job. According to reports, the Giants have a backup plan. Chris Palmer recently listed several other possibilities for offensive coordinator if Monken falls through. Mike Kafka, former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. Wait, that's confusing because Mike McDaniel's also interviewing for the Browns job. Denver Broncos quarterbacks coach Davis Webb, and Los Angeles Rams passing coordinator Nate Skillis. But here's the thing. None of those guys have the track record that Monken has. None of them have been running a top 5 NFL offense for 3 straight years. None of them have the proven ability to develop quarterbacks and create explosive offensive systems. Harbaugh needs Monken, and Jimmy Haslam knows it. That's what makes this power play so beautiful. Haslam is essentially saying, you disrespected my organization, you ghosted us and acted like we weren't good enough for you? Okay, cool. Watch me take the one guy you need most for your new team. This is mafia-level pettiness. This is the kind of move that sends a message across the entire league. And honestly, I respect it. Because the NFL is a business, but it's also a game of respect. And when someone disrespects you the way Harbaugh disrespected the Browns, you have to respond. But let's get back to the most important person in this entire situation, Shedeur Sanders. Because while these billionaires and elite coaches are playing their power games, there's a young quarterback whose entire career is being shaped by decisions he has no control over. The Browns are also bringing back Jim Schwartz for a second interview tomorrow, and according to a lot of people in Cleveland, Schwartz is more than likely going to be the next head coach. Jimmy Haslam apparently likes to stay with people he knows, and Schwartz has been with the organization. He knows the roster. He knows the culture. He's the safe choice. But here's my question. Is the safe choice the right choice for Shedeur Sanders? Jim Schwartz is a defensive-minded coach. He's brilliant on that side of the ball. Nobody's questioning that. But if Schwartz becomes the head coach, who becomes the offensive coordinator? Who's designing the offense? Who's developing Shedeur? Because we just saw what happens when you put Shedeur in a system where the offensive coordinator doesn't believe in him or doesn't know how to use him properly. That's the nightmare scenario. Schwartz becomes head coach. He brings in some random offensive coordinator who runs a conservative system that doesn't fit Shedeur's skill set, and we're right back where we started. Another wasted year. Another season of Shedeur not getting a fair opportunity to show what he can do. But if Todd Monken becomes the head coach, now we're talking about something completely different. Now we're talking about an offensive mind who's proven he can design explosive systems around athletic quarterbacks. Now we're talking about someone who laid out a philosophy that sounds tailor-made for Shedeur's skill set. And the beautiful irony in all of this, the only reason Monken might end up in Cleveland is because John Harbaugh disrespected the Browns so badly that Jimmy Haslam decided to blow up Harbaugh's entire coaching staff plan out of pure spite. Sometimes in life, you benefit from other people's beefs. Sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time when two powerful people decide to go to war with each other. And Shedeur Sanders might be about to catch the luckiest break of his career simply because Jimmy Haslam decided to get petty.
Now, let's talk about what this means for the Giants in Jackson Dart, because if the Browns successfully poach Monken, Harbaugh has a real problem. He's already committed to the Giants, he's already building his staff, and his offensive coordinator plan just got nuked by a billionaire owner with a grudge.
A fullback, 4 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers. The reality is there. A lot of ways to skin a cat, but still principles of how you win are the same, Monken stated. Now, if Monken, right, gets the Cleveland job, Harbaugh will have to go to plan B. Now, Chris P-Farm recently listed Mike Kavaka, former Miami Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel, Denver Broncos quarterback.
Harbaugh would have to pivot to plan B. Mike Kafka, Davis Webb, Nate Skillis. These are fine coaches, but they're not Todd Monken. They don't have 3 years of running elite NFL offenses on their resume. They're projects. They're gambles. And here's the thing about John Harbaugh. He's a defensive-minded head coach, too. He needs a strong offensive coordinator to balance out his coaching staff. He needs someone who can handle that side of the ball while he focuses on defense and overall team leadership. Losing Monken would be a massive blow to his Giants' tenure before it even begins. Meanwhile, the Browns are sitting there with Grant Udinski also scheduled for a second interview. Mike McDaniel had a virtual interview and's coming back for round 2. The Browns have options, they have leverage, and they have a billionaire owner who's willing to spend whatever it takes to make this work. But here's what nobody's talking about: the timeline. The combine is coming up, free agency is approaching, the draft is on the horizon. Every day that passes without a head coach in place is a day that the Browns fall further behind in their preparation for next season. And that affects Shedeur directly, because whoever becomes the head coach needs to make decisions about the quarterback room. They need to decide if they're building around Shedeur or if they're bringing in competition. They need to determine what kind of offense they're running and whether Shedeur fits that system. This limbo period is killing any momentum that Shedeur might have had coming out of his rookie season. Instead of getting reps with a new coaching staff, learning a new system, building chemistry with coaches who believe in him, he's just waiting, watching, hoping that whoever gets hired actually wants him there. And you know what's wild? John Harbaugh's disrespect might have actually helped Shedeur, because if Harbaugh had taken the Browns' job, there's no guarantee he would have built his offense around Shedeur. Harbaugh's a defensive coach. He might have brought in some conservative coordinator who wanted to play it safe. He might have viewed Shedeur as a question mark rather than the answer. But Todd Monken? Monken's entire philosophy is built around explosive plays and athletic quarterbacks who can make things happen off schedule. That's Shedeur's game. That's what he does best. So in a weird way, Harbaugh ghosting the Browns and forcing Jimmy Haslam into revenge mode might have created the perfect storm for Shedeur to finally land with a coach who understands how to use him. The other candidates in this search are all intriguing too. Grant Udinski is young, brilliant, connected to the Sean McVay coaching tree. Mike McDaniel already proved he can design creative offenses that put up points. Jim Schwartz would bring stability and defensive excellence. But none of them have Todd Monken's specific track record with athletic quarterbacks and explosive offensive systems. None of them have spent the last 3 years proving they can do exactly what Shedeur needs them to do. And that's why this coaching search matters so much. That's why Jimmy Haslam's petty revenge plot against John Harbaugh could end up being the best thing that ever happened to Shedeur Sanders' career. Because at the end of the day, Shedeur doesn't need sympathy. He doesn't need excuses. He doesn't need people feeling sorry for him because he had a tough rookie season. What he needs is a coach who believes in him, a coordinator who knows how to design an offense that maximizes his strengths, a system that allows him to be the dynamic, playmaking quarterback that we all know he can be. And if Todd Monken ends up in Cleveland because Jimmy Haslam wanted to stick it to John Harbaugh, then Shedeur should send Harbaugh a thank you card, because that disrespect might have just saved his career. So here's where we're at. Jimmy Haslam is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. John Harbaugh disrespected the Browns by ghosting them and running to the Giants, and now Haslam is trying to steal Harbaugh's top coaching target, Todd Monken, right out underneath him. Shedeur Sanders is sitting in the middle of all this drama, watching his future get decided by billionaire egos and coaching vendettas. But here's the twist. This might be the best thing that could have happened to him, because Todd Monken's offensive philosophy, built around athletic quarterbacks who can make off-schedule plays, sounds like it was designed specifically for Shedeur's skill set. The next few days will determine everything. Will Monken choose Cleveland and give Shedeur the offensive mind he desperately needs? Will Jim Schwartz get the job and force Shad into another uncertain situation? Or will the Browns go in a completely different direction? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Jimmy Haslam's revenge plot will work? Should Todd Monken take the Browns' head coaching job? And most importantly, is this the break that Shedeur Sanders has been waiting for? If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this coaching search is about to get even crazier. We're following every interview, every report, every twist in this saga. Smash that like button and let's keep this conversation going. Peace and chaos.